Welcome and welcome to the new facilities, but I guess many of you have been in the building before, right? But this up here is all new, I think. Right? And we're going to move on with the meeting. Anyone from the public here to comment? None seen. I guess we'll move on.
No public speakers.
The minutes for our November 17th meeting. All in favor? All right. Any changes in the work plan?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there was one change in the work plan. Originally, sorry about that. Originally, we had scheduled to meet in November. However, that meeting has been moved to December. So whatever we said that we were going to report in November is now going to be reported in December.
Thank you.
And I'm not sure how this works.
And Michael was called on other business today.
Yes, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention. Mr. Garner is not here today. He is attending a meeting at City Hall about the MWB program, so he regrets that he couldn't be here at this meeting.
Do you want to?
I may need technical assistance here. Sorry about that.
Can we get up the screen? This has happened at various.
Okay, just the first time for everything, I suppose. So I'm just. We were so used to the procedure we had before at Madison Avenue.
I knew I had white hair.
Oh, you see.
I see it up there. It's easy. This looks like the snow outside. Patience. It happened on a few occasions, yes. Not to this extent. We're going to start the program, and we'll wait on
We'll
the rest of the matter.
catch up to the presentation when it comes on the screen.
All right, so why don't you take us forward, Naeem?
Okay. Mr. Chairman, for today's presentation, before I get to the departmental goals updates, as you know, in the committee book we have presentations or a listing of efforts that the agencies are making in their outreach to minorities and women to address underutilization. The president of Capital Construction has very generously taken time to be here today since he's a busy person. If it's all right with you, I would like to proceed with his presentation so that we won't have him sit here for too long.
Please do.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I would like to address today our internship program, something that we used to have here, and in the fall of 2014, we reinstituted a paid internship program that allows us now to actually hire both undergrad and graduate students to participate and be part of our workforce and actually be trained. We are paying our undergraduates $15 an hour and our graduates $19 an hour. And we have been at this point assigned 5 such interns, and if we can retain more, we'll look to do so. During the fall semester, that is, and I truly refer to it as semesters because that involves a lot of students, in fact. We have just started that, so we only had 1 intern. During the spring, that is this semester, we have been increasing that to 2. And we expect by the summer to have 5 such interns in our program. We have, in the past, due to the fact that we paid nothing, we had a tough time actually recruiting people. And at this point, our managers have been advised on internship programs parameters, and participation is expected to increase throughout the summer and next fall. We offer internship opportunities within the field of engineering, communication, business and finance, human resources, legal. So we are actually looking at interns in all of the areas. We have been aggressively attending job fairs at local universities such as Brooklyn College, Hofstra, NYU, New Jersey Institute of Technology, Columbia, the city colleges. So we are posting this stuff on job boards all over, and our human resources people are very involved with the recruitment. Not only that, but we are partnering with a variety of minority organizations in order to elicit and solicit people from various backgrounds to join us, and we targeting candidates from underutilized groups as well. So overall, our program of retaining interns looks very good, and we look forward to actually have as many as we can, and we'll try to maximize that, and at the same time be able to get people to, in effect, utilize that as a learning experience and acquire the necessary skills so they can then later on come and be part of our workforce. In fact, we have right now a couple of our interns that graduated some time ago, and they work for us at MTACC, so we're very happy that these programs were very successful for us. If any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
But I think the paid portion, I believe, is now going to be going across all the agencies. So.
It is all over the agencies. So that increased our ability to actually recruit additional candidates, particularly that these candidates can use not only the training but the pay that goes with it. So that's an important ingredient.
Any other questions? If not, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we go on to the departmental goals.
Yes.
So as you can see in your book, the Small Business Development Program training program is ongoing, and the next class will begin on March 19, 2015. For the Mentor Graduated Program, our goal is to award $80 million in contracts by July 2015. And I'm happy to report that since program inception in 2010 through last December, MTA awarded $88.2 million, and 74% or $65 million was awarded to MWBEs. We also have a federal program, as you know, and for that, our goal is to award $30 million by July 2015. Since program inception in March 2013, almost $42 million has been awarded, and the DB participation was 14 million, which amounts to 34%, and that's twice our goal of 17% for DBE participation. We continue to work with New York State's Empire State Development Corporation to formulate strategies for increasing MWBE participation in our procurement activities. As far as the finalization of the implementation of the MWDB contract compliance system is concerned, we are in the process of evaluating whether the current system, Skyline, we continue to implement that program or switch to a different program, which is called B2G system. Most of the state agencies are, and as well as the Port Authority of New York, New Jersey is on that program, on that system rather. So, here, it is working now. So, I'm sorry. I know it's hard to read on there, but so the issue at this point is whether we switch to the B2G system, which is actually the state is asking us to use that system. So there will be a briefing scheduled for the chairman. And our effort to finalize MTS Minority Supply Development Program is ongoing, and we're working with Kawasaki Rail because they have a most recent contract with New York City Transit for $1.8 billion. So the idea is to create a program where minority firms who are suppliers can then work with the prime so that we can have a pool or a bank of minority suppliers which we can then use, and then we can place goals on those contracts. As far as our MWBE and DBE goals are concerned, the DBE goal remains at 17%. For the upcoming state fiscal year, which starts on March 1st, the MTS goal has proposed a goal of 27%. And as I said, for the for the federal fiscal year, the goal remains at 17%. In terms of achievement, MTA did exceed its MW participation goal of 20%, and its actual achievement is 23%. We also achieved our federal DB goal of 17%. There are efforts ongoing for mentoring program within the paratransit. Within paratransit, the idea is to have small transit providers work with the large transit providers, and a full briefing will be presented to the committee in May of this year at the next meeting. Similarly, the creation of a mentor protege program focusing on signal projects is ongoing, and we will be giving an update on this effort in May meeting as well. Again, the goal here is to create opportunities for MWB firms so that we can then place goals on those projects. And the last two items on the departmental's goals list is the Hudson Yards Mentor Protege Program, which is in the process of being finalized with TDX Corporation. Something new here, which is the MWDB outreach events in suburban counties within the MTA service area, and this is our ongoing effort. We are working at the moment to actually, no, let me take that back. We have scheduled an event in April of 2015 in Nassau County, Mr. Chairman, working with you. Yes. And another event will be scheduled in May in Suffolk County.
Thank you. Any questions? If not, Naeem, you want to introduce our next speaker?
Yes, our next speaker is Zanira Chape. She is Assistant Director for Outreach, and she will be making a presentation on the our department's business and diversity initiatives, starting on page 17.
Good afternoon. At the last meeting, we discussed the events leading up to October and November. So December and January were completed by having a new firm orientation session in December, which was one of our largest events of the year. We brought in 96 attendees, and we're working with them on moving them into the agencies and getting them certified, which was an excellent session, I have to say. Moving on to January, We have several events planned. We planned the regular events, but one of the events that stand out is the Small Business Mentoring Program graduation ceremony. It was the first ever held at the MTA. We graduated 45 contractors out of the program, moving them into Tier 2. We had, it was a wonderful ceremony, and I say that because there was support from the community, the political arena. Hakeem Walter Mosley was here. Inez Dickens spoke. We had representation from the executive committee. Robert Ferran came and spoke also. The graduation ceremony took place, and our graduates were very proud of themselves. And for the first time in the MTA, we were very successful at this, and we hope to have this every year. Moving forward, in February, which is currently upon us, has become very busy by, again, another new firm orientation session, and these firms' orientation sessions seem to really be famous within the community, because now we had like about 26 firms that came in. We have the Black and Puerto Rican Legislators Conference that we recently attended. And moving on to March, which is one of our busiest, we resume with the Small Business Mentoring Program training sessions. We have a Regional Alliance for Small Contractors Clearinghouse, which will also make another presentation for the Small Business Mentoring Program, and also have included New York City Transit to make a presentation on discretionary procurement. And we continue to add on to our outreach efforts, as you will see throughout the year. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next report will be presented by Danny Camacho. He's the currently serving as manager in our certification program. And Mr. Chairman, with your indulgence, I would just like to take a moment here to state that our Assistant Director for Certification, Carolyn Green, retired at the end of January. She, and I want to pay a tribute to her at this point, if that's okay. She is a distinguished person in this field, and her knowledge and experience in this area is second to none. We're sorry to have to lose her, and it is a big loss for us, but we want to wish her continued success in her future endeavors, but it certainly left a big void in our department, and I take this opportunity publicly to acknowledge her service to the MTA and to the transportation industry and to the DBE community, which she has been a pillar in that community. Thank you. So at this point, Mr. Camacho is the distinguished manager for certification, in certification program, and he also has had a long and distinguished career with the MTA. So without further ado, I would introduce Mr. Camacho.
Thank you, Naeem. Good afternoon. They say every good team has to have a good bench, right? So I'm pinch hitting today. On page 19, you'll see a graph that describes the applications received between 2012 and 2014 by month. The total for 2014 was substantially less than previous years, but we expect that as long as we have a capital program, applications will continue to flow in. So that won't be an issue for us as far as the applications that we receive are concerned. On the next page, page 20, there's also, it breaks down by category: certified, denied, returned, and eligible withdrawn. And for 2014, that number was 130. And that's pretty much along the same in terms of volume as the prior years. I just want to note that 29 of those applications in 2014 were returned, either because the applications were incomplete or the applicant failed to submit a whole application. And I'll give you a moment to review that. Yes.
Please.
Thank you. I noticed the same thing you have just pointed out, that although the totals don't vary all that much year to year,
Correct.
as you disaggregate the numbers, the number of applications certified has dropped off substantially.
Between 2013 and 2014, they have.
Yes, that's right. Is there a reason for that?
Well, the applicants simply weren't eligible, either because they feel they're eligible for certification, but other people are running those companies. And I can get into detail if you like, but they don't really qualify for DBE certification, as they're not bona fide disadvantaged businesses.
I understand the reasons, forgive me, Mr. Chairman, I understand the reasons for denial or returning it or for their voluntarily withdrawing. Is there anything we can do to up the number of gross applicants so that we can bring these numbers back to where we thought they were in 2013?
It really is a function of the outreach efforts as well as the capital program and what's happening specifically in the capital program. There's no way to really gauge how to get more applications in.
Just wanted to add that our outreach efforts do continue at the same pace, and if not an increased pace, and we do try to solicit as many firms as we can. And once firms are certified, we have an orientation session we hold for certified firms where they are invited in to meet with our procurement representatives and create and network with them, and then create relationships which would be fruitful for them. We do offer a certification training workshop every month, once a month, and I believe Zaneta has something to add.
I just wanted to add that we have also reciprocity with other agencies, correct, Danny? And that may have an impact in it because once a firm can get certified with the Port Authority, they have reciprocity with the MTA also, so that may have something to do with it.
And it's the same with New York State DOT as well.
And the fact is we are going out, and I think we indicated we have meetings set up over the next couple of months in Nassau and Suffolk and some further on this year.
We will have more meetings, as I mentioned in our review of goals, that so far we have our scheduled meetings in Nassau and Suffolk County, but we will be going out to the outer areas as well, and in all of our service area.
And that hasn't been done in a while, I don't think. When's the last time we did Nassau and Suffolk, as an example?
For the certification session, for the certification sessions?
Yes.
We haven't done. We're about to do the Nassau and Suffolk. We have two out in Nassau, as a matter of fact. And we need to reach out to Westchester. So we're in the process of putting together the certification workshops outside, in inclusion of the how to do business with the MTA. It's all grouped in.
Very good, thank you.
On the next page, which is 21, we certified a total of 249 firms between 2012 and 2014. Out of those, 6 received federal contracts in that time period, and a total number of 21 contracts were awarded either directly or through subcontracting, for a total of $14,417,774. On the MBE side, we awarded a total of $39,547,103 to approximately 51 prime or subcontracts. And both of those together, you'll see for FTA and New York State funded projects, that total was $53,964,877.
And the 15 firms that Danny mentioned, those are from the dual certification as DBEs and as well as MWBEs.
Correct.
And Mr. Chairman, if I can just go back for a moment, I also want to acknowledge Zaneta Shefe's services to the MTA and to the Diversity Department. I forgot to mention that. Certainly don't mean to shortchange her. This has been a month of transitions, or perhaps I should say year of transitions at Diversity and Civil Rights. Sean Moore worked for us in Diversity and Civil Rights, and as you've seen her presentations before the previous committee meetings, I'm happy to report that she has moved on to bigger and better things, and she is now the EU officer for MTA Bridges and Tunnels. And I want to publicly congratulate her and wish her well in her new position.
Very good.
So the next section talks about the diversity EEO activities for the it's for 2014. And if we move to page 25. Yes, 25. This lists areas of underutilization as of December 31st, 2014, for the different agencies, as well as job categories within those job categories per agencies, and shows where there is underutilization of protected groups. And highlighted areas include in yellow, which indicating that there is still some underutilization. And this continues through page 28. As far as new hire activity is concerned for the year 2014, I'm happy to report that 72% of the new hires have been minorities, and 72% have been minorities, and 20% have been women, and that is on page 29 of your book. And headquarters has led the way in terms of hiring of women in its workforce, which equals to roughly half of the new hires. And MTA Bus has done a phenomenal job of hiring 87% minorities for their total new hires.
I think we've got to remember, though, as good as the numbers were for the year, there's still a long, long way to go to really approach dealing with some of the other numbers that we saw on the other pages.
Yes, and Mr. Garner did wanted to mention that he's planning to schedule a meeting with agency HR and EEO staff, and together with you, Mr. Chairman, to create recruitment strategies that will specifically address minorities and hiring of minorities, especially Hispanics and of women. So we will be working with you closely on coming up with strategies which will be presented to the committee at future meetings.
Thank you.
If we go to page 30, that basically is a breakdown among the agencies of how break down the numbers among the agencies, and how how many are minorities and women, and what specific groups of minorities the new hires are made up of. As far as complaints are concerned, starting on page 32, there is a breakdown of external complaints and internal complaints. Just as you know, external complaints include complaints which are filed with the either a U.S. EEOC Commission or the New York State Division of Human Rights. Those complaints are handled by respective agency legal departments. The internal complaints are those complaints which are handled internally among the agency EEO officers, by the agency EEO officers or by the EEO departments in the agencies. We also track and report Title VI complaints. Those are complaints by our customers, complaints about discrimination, allegations of discrimination in the way that we provide our transit service or transit-related benefits. And the breakdown would be between among race, color, national origin, or income. And if you turn to page 33, that is a breakdown as of December 24th of the various complaints which have been lodged with the agencies. Headquarters have not had any Title VI complaints in a very long time, if ever. But certainly the agencies that do provide service do receive Title VI complaints. Please continue. Starting on page 34, we have the EEO complaints. As you know, Mr. Chairman, at the beginning of the year, we give you a breakdown of the complaint or the complaints files per year for the last 3 years. So here we have a breakdown between external and internal complaints, as well as the basis for the complaints and the number of complaints which were handled per year.
I guess the obvious question is why are the numbers up?
Certainly there is a greater awareness among the workforce for about the EEO process and the mechanisms which are out there for handling complaints. And we have, we tell the employees that we are here, there is an avenue for them to pursue these complaints, and they are taking advantage of those avenues. We also have a breakdown of the Title VI complaints. Those are the customer complaints, again, filed by our customers. And that is also showing you the difference among the 3 years, starting in 2012 and moving up to 2014. Certainly there has been an increase in those complaints as well. The next page, page 36, shows a disposition of complaints from January to December, and it shows whether there was a reasonable cause, which means that the decision was made in favor of the complaining party. No reasonable cause would be a decision was made in favor of the agency. And if the complaints were withdrawn, or there was an administrative closure for a variety of reasons, sometimes the complaints are resolved and settled, and we have indicated that as well. And moving on to page 37, on page 36 we have both internal and external complaint resolutions. And on page 37 we have a disposition of the Title VI complaints. It shows how the agencies handled their Title VI complaints for the year 2014. And should I move on?
Please.
Okay.
Anyone have any questions?
Questions?
No.
Okay. Page 38, starting on page 38, actually is a section which deals with the MTA headquarters numbers, and this shows workforce utilization for 2014, as of December 31st, 2014, among different job titles and among different minority women and minority protected groups. If we move on to page 40, this shows a utilization of the MTA police workforce, and I would like to mention here that we have facilitated and opened a dialogue between MTA Police Department and the Guardians Association, and we've held one meeting, and another meeting is scheduled actually for tomorrow So this is an effort to improve the numbers within the police department and to explore ways how Guardian Association can play a role in the greater utilization of minorities and women, not just as police officers, but throughout the ranks within the police department. As you will recall from our last presentation, at the MTA Police Department, from police officers on, from detectives on to inspectors, when we hire men and women as police officers, but then their movement up the ranks depends on the available pool of police officers. So it's crucial to have that very diverse pool of police officers, and because from there you move on to the upper ranks. And certainly there are exams for to become sergeants and lieutenants, and we want to explore, have a police department work with the Guardian Association to explore avenues in which they can play a role in the increase of minorities and women in those higher ranks in the police department. Page 41 shows new hires for MTA headquarters only. The figures that you see here were part of the figures that we showed for the overall, for all the agencies, but this is just a breakdown of just MTA headquarters. And as I mentioned before, of roughly half of the new hires for 2014 are women, and 61% are minorities. Next section, next page rather, on 42, gives a breakdown of the EEO and Title VI complaints for MTA headquarters only, external complaints as well as internal complaints and their status, as well as Title VI complaints for which at headquarters we have none. Page 43, you will see a breakdown of EEO complaint resolution for external as well as internal complaints, and certainly no resolution for Title VI since there aren't any Title VI complaints that we handled for 2014 or any previous years that I recall.
Anyone have any other questions?
Okay.
Please continue.
I'm sorry.
Please continue.
Thank you. Here in this section, starting on page 45, we have efforts which we have included to how to improve utilization of minorities and women within our workforce. And we are making special efforts to certainly recruit minorities as well. And the person who's in charge of our recruitment for veterans, Aleda Myers, is here if should you have any specific questions for recruitment of veterans.
Any questions?
No. Thank you.
Thank you.
And also, as the president of Capital Construction spoke about the internship program for capital construction, paid internship program for capital construction, there has been a new effort to standardize internship programs across MTA agencies. Mr. Lee Lawton is a manager within our Human Resources Department, has currently agreed to be here today to speak about internship program that we are in the process of finalizing.
May I ask a question, Mr. Chairman? For want of trying to find a better way to frame this question, when do you expect to see an impact on utilization at MTA Capital Construction on the basis of this internship program? And how do you expect to measure it?
Well, it's measured in terms of seeing an increase in the number of minorities and women in the workforce. Yes. But I think it will take a few years just to for the internship program to be effective, because what the internship program does is that it does create a pool of viable candidates who have had work at the agency, and then they become more eligible to be hired. And so I would say it will take a few years to have a full impact of that. program.
That's premised on recruiting minorities to be participating in there, and I didn't see that clearly articulated earlier.
We can,
Oh, yes.
we can certainly provide the more details about that for you following this committee meeting. And we would include that in our next meeting as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
So Mr. Lawton is going to be speaking about the efforts of streamlining and standardizing the internship program at MTA and its agencies. So if you could have that presentation, I believe it's a separate presentation.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. I was asked to do a survey back in November of the different types of internship programs offered by the MTA and its family of agencies, and present the results of that during the December agency president's meeting. All right. And so I did that and was at the meeting, and there were 16 different types of programs that are out there. And they're kind of all over the place. Some are focused on legal, the legal department. Some, are focused, in general, they have an area of focus on high school students or college students and that sort of thing. And in looking at the different types of programs out there, the chairman put out the notion that we should have some consistent standards from program to program, right? And he also challenged us, and challenged me for that matter, in basically coming up with a formal, structured, MTA-sponsored interagency program by 2016, all right? Some of the characteristics of that program is that the MTA funds the program. There's some commitment to hire at the end of that program. We need to put together a committee to determine what this program actually looks like. We need to settle on, at that committee, at the committee level, we need to settle on the structure and process and controls to make sure that we're inclusive, if you will. Start small and capture lessons learned, and then ultimately expand. Right. And so earlier in February, I actually met with leaders of the major internship programs in each of the agencies. Right. And basically, we put together a committee which is looking to ensure that the chairman's request is in place. All right. So the committee outputs would be first to assess the needs of and to determine what type of program would best meet the needs of the MTA. And we're up to page 3. Keep going. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. To develop a model for a high-quality MTA-sponsored interagency internship program, and that model is fully deployable by January 2016. All right, and then the idea is, since these are the leaders of all of the agency-sponsored internship programs, develop some consistent standards that we will abide by. We'll determine what metrics we'll use. We'll demonstrate how the existing programs meet the talent and diversity goals of the organization, getting to some of the questions that you gentlemen had a couple minutes ago. And a demonstration of how the existing programs actually address some of the succession and replacement planning issues within the organization. Okay. And so, as a committee, we have to determine how we're going to wind up assessing the needs. We have to look at what area of focus that this program is going to take. We have, as I mentioned, we have a number of different types of programs out there already. We don't want to duplicate what's there. We want something that's going to be different, but we also want something that's going to be able to meet the need of the MTA and its family of agencies. All right. What areas? There are some professions that are in demand. Frankly, IT and engineering. These are professions that are in demand. So something that may be focused in that area may ultimately wind up emerging from this committee. All right. What's the duration? All right. What are the hours? The number of days per week that we'll have for this program. And then consider the 16 programs that are out there. They all have different goals. They all have different areas of focus. You know, where are the gaps? All right. And we also need to integrate them, some of the talent and diversity goals within the MTA. And we want to make sure that we build the type of program that will best align with them, you know, and making sure that we look at those talent, the professions that are in demand, and making sure that diverse candidates are represented in them. You know, this is not going to be a panacea. All right. This is one avenue with which you wind up addressing some of the diversity utilization issues of the organization. All right. And this talent strategy, if you will, is one way of integrating. You integrate this talent strategy along with the others in order to impact some of the utilization issues within the organization. Okay. Part of this activity was to figure out what do the best internships out there have, because there are some internship programs that are considered best of breed, if you will, and I did a survey to find out what they were. All right. One of the first things that happens is that they have a defined area of focus. All right. And that area of focus matches the need of the interns, it matches the intern's career objectives, if you will. All right. The other thing that's a challenging one to ensure, but it's necessary, is to make sure that there's a supportive culture. All right. It's a culture of inclusion. You want to make sure that the intern is invited to participate in meaningful activities and challenging projects, that is, right? And making sure that the intern feels valued by other employees and feel like they are part of the team. All right. Another area of importance is to make sure that there's an accessible manager who gives understandable direction, making sure that there's mentorship and guidance. And if that manager is not available, all right, there's a meaningful substitute who adds to the intern experience. I mean, I could tell you, as being a product of an internship program myself, it was extremely important for me that I had access to my manager at that time to give me guidance as I was proceeding, because I was pretty much in the blind at that point, and without his help, I wouldn't have succeeded in that particular internship program. And as it turns out, that was one of the things that led me to the profession where I'm in today. Okay, you want to have the intern will want to know, how am I doing? All right, and the manager will want to know, how is that intern doing? All right, so you have to have feedback and evaluation mechanisms. You know, from the standpoint of the manager, you know, you're evaluating the skills of that intern for possible future employment. So you got to have some sort of assessment mechanism in there. The best internship programs have that. Right? There has to be also feedback mechanisms. You have to get feedback from the intern themselves so that there is an assessment of the quality of the internship experience, you know, and then making some meaningful corrections, if you will, as you find out that the internship experience is less than perfect. You know, the work itself, and the interesting thing is that it doesn't surprise me that out of all of these, the work itself is actually the most important. All right, You go through study after study on what motivates employees. Back when I was in college, there's a guy named Fred Hertzberg who did motivational studies. You know, what motivates employees? And today, there's a guy named Dan Pink who's pretty much done the same type of study. All right, and it's the same result. It's the work itself that provides motivation for the employee. They work on challenging and innovative projects. The intern is given a real sense of responsibility and a measure of independence in doing the job. All right, and they feel like they're part of the team. There's a sense of achievement. There's a sense of recognition and growth and advancement. You know, those are the things that wind up motivating employees. All right, the possibility of employment at the end of the internship. Right, that's the best internships have that as well. You know. Again, it offers you a meaningful opportunity to evaluate the skills of that intern, all right, and look at things like fit, you know, and making sure that that you have the supportive culture that's there as well, all right. Rewards are part of the equation. I'm not gonna knock that, and it's definitely part of the equation. A lot of people think that rewards are the most important thing. Actually, it isn't. It's the work itself that becomes rewarding that's the most important. But good compensation will attract good interns here. You know, a flexible work schedule and other appropriate rewards. I mean, there are so many different. I believe it's Google's internship program. They have access to athletic clubs and things like that. You know, we probably won't go that far, but you know, just meaningful rewards, I think, might be appropriate here. Okay. So the committee that I put together is going to have to decide what form does this internship program take. All right. Will there be a competitive selection process? You know, some internship programs, many of the best in breed have that. They have that in place. We have a number of different agencies here. All right. So would an interagency rotational be appropriate here? All right. One advantage of that is that you get to see the issues that are important within each agency, and you'll find out that many times they're different. They're different issues that rise to different levels of importance. All right. Is it an intra-agency rotational, where you get steeped? You go to one agency and you get steeped in the issues of that particular agency. You go from department to department within, let's say, in a finance area, you might go spend some time in budget, spend some time in treasury, and spend some time in risk management over a 2-year period. All right. Are you assigned to a specific department for the duration of the internship? Should there be a group capstone activity there as well? You know, I've seen it done where there are day-to-day activities. Plus, at the end, a group activity where the interns actually present to the leadership of the organization an approach to addressing a strategic issue that's impacting the organization. You know, these are some things that the committee is going to have to wrestle with. And then getting to things like oversight mechanisms, metrics, and things of that nature. It goes to the chairman's request that we develop consistent standards for all MTA programs, right? There could be metrics around the number of interns actually hired. And if we didn't hire them, why not? Was it a selection issue? Was it a dropout issue? And if it was a dropout issue, was it because the reason given that the program was not meaningful enough? We have to put those assessment mechanisms in place. The number of interns retained after a period, you know, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, you know, what you want to see is, you know, a high level of employees, interns that is, high level of interns who stay with us, and then they're with us after those 3, 5, and 7 year benchmarks, you know. Survey the interns. So periodically get their perspective of the internship experience, you know. Many times they can give you plenty of ideas about what's meaningful about it and what's not. All right. Evaluation of the interns by managers. You know, you can look at the collective evaluations at the conclusion of the internship to get a global sense of what's going on, and then even after hiring, when they're part of the regular evaluation pool, all right. And look, as I mentioned before, looking at retention after different periodic benchmarks, right? And also, an additional thing that we would want to do here is to have an appointment of an overall program manager that's accountable for managing this effort. All right, to be able to apply some of these metrics. To be able to ensure that the program is meaningful. And there are a number of strategies that you can do to make sure that up front that the program is meaningful. You know, you can require that if somebody's going to get an internship, an intern that is, they have to have a project description of exactly what that intern is going to be involved with, so that this way they're not caught. The intern is not caught just photocopying and things like that. They're involved with a number of different things. All right. Require a dedicated mentor. All right. Making sure that that mentor is there and available to them. All right. Checking in periodically with the intern will make all the difference in the world as well. All right. And as I mentioned earlier, an evaluation of the intern at the end. Okay. So those are the things that we talked about in the program during the committee meeting. We had our initial meeting at the beginning of the month, and we will have a subsequent meeting in the middle of March, and we'll likely be meeting periodically after that. We have the goal of getting the interagency program up and running before January of 2016, and we also have the goal of making sure that there is consistent standards in the organization around those internship programs. And I think we'll be on our way to making sure that happens. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd like to thank you for your presentation. I thought it was excellent, well put together, and thoughtful. And having been in that world of hiring interns and getting feedback and knowing what's important, I think you hit on the mark all the way through. You have a lot in front of you to put this all together because it's an important program, and you gave yourself a kind of a tight deadline there, and but it's a well thought out program.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Any other questions? No? Okay.
Any other comments or questions?
Mr. Frey, did that answer some of your questions about the internship program?
Operationally, and I agree with the chairman. Your presentation was stellar. I was referring to something different. The evaluation and the numbers of its efficacy down the line, because this is about changing behaviors.
Yes. So I suppose we'll get back on track with the presentation.
Yes, please do.
And so, Mr. Chairman, as you can see, we have the efforts spelled out by the different agencies in their efforts to address underutilization and increase utilization levels of minorities and women. The representatives from the agencies are here today if there are any specific questions on these presentations.
I have none.
Okay, thank you. May we move on to the Small Business Mentoring Program update?
Please do.
Mr. George Cleary is the Deputy Director for the MTA's Small Business and MTA's Federal Small Business Federal Program and for the state program, and he's here to give a presentation on both programs.
Good afternoon. We've been very excited about the program since its inception, and culminated recently with the graduation. But we're going to look at the mentoring program since the November program started, we have awarded 142 contracts totaling 88.2 million. 105 of those contracts have been awarded to 70 New York State certified MWBE, totaling 65.3 million, or 74%. Of those 70 MWBE firms, 21 firms are also DBE certified. We currently have 140 firms in the program, and we got 70 firms that are pending pre-qualification. We also have our loan program. Currently, year to date, since December, we have had 42 loans that were approved and closed, totaling 4.325 million. And the participating firms in the loan program could get loans maximum value up to 150,000 or 30%, the less of the two. During the mentoring program, during the first 4 years, we had the graduation that Zenaida had mentioned earlier, and we had 45 firms that participated in the graduation. Those 45 firms, there were 68 contracts awarded to those 45 firms, graduating firms totaling 49.8 million, and 47% of those firms are now moving on to Tier 2. We're very excited with the program. Currently, just this past last week, we had a new firm orientation for construction firms, and we had 35 firms that came in. Of those 35, 21 have committed to applying to the program. So we're very excited. The program is going real well, and we just continue to do the solid recruiting, and hopefully we'll continue to gain more firms into the program. Moving forward to the federal program. The federal program started in March of 2013, and since the program inception, we have had 22 projects been awarded, totaling 41.7 million, of which 14 million or 34% were awarded to the DBE firms. 31 firms are currently pre-qualified, and we got one firm pending pre-qualification. We have had 3 loans approved, totaling 615,000, and again, our participating firms can get loans maximum value less of 900,000 or 30% of the contract value. We're in the final stages of our surety bond assistant program with Willis and ACE, and participating firms are eligible for surety bonding assistance of up to $3 million. That's it. Thanks.
Should we proceed?
Please.
Okay. Sorry about the presentation, but in the meantime, we'll keep going. Okay. At this point, I'm pleased to introduce my colleague, Gwen Harleston. She was previously worked in our department in charge of EEO and Title VI programs, and she was promoted to Deputy Director in our MWDB contract compliance section, and she will be giving an update on the MWDB contract compliance efforts, activities.
Good afternoon. If you'll go to page 67, either in your booklet or on screen, doesn't matter. But from October 2014 to December 2014, MTA awarded approximately $554 million in federally funded portion of contracts and awarded over $96 million, or 17%, to certified DBEs. MTA, as it was previously stated, has met its 17% DBE goal, and we continue to do so for the first 3 months during the federal fiscal year 2014-2015. During October 2014 to December 2014, you will see that MTA paid prime contractors approximately $346 million, with payments to certified DBEs totaling over $45 million, or 13%. So if we can move to page 71. Here we will talk about the MWBE awards and payments. From April 2014 to December 2014, MTA awarded approximately $2.1 billion in New York State-funded contracts, with over $372 million, or 18%, awarded to certified MWBEs. MTA also paid approximately $877 million on prime contracts to prime contractors, with over $198 million, or 23%, paid to MWBEs. MTA continues to exceed its 20% MWBE goal. If you will move forward to page 73 in the booklet, this is not the correct chart. We do have a handout on discretionary data, but just to let you know, we experienced some difficulty with obtaining accurate data on the agency's MWBE discretionary awards. So today what we're doing is just giving you like a brief overview of how much was paid to MWBEs and SBEs only. During May, we will give you a complete report. As stated in the handout, between April 2014 and December 2014, MWBE's discretionary awards totaled $21 million, while SBE discretionary awards totaled approximately $13 million.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Mr. Chairman, I may have misspoken earlier. Of course, the state fiscal year starts on April 1st. I think I may have said March 1st. It ends on March 31st and begins on April 1st. So I just wanted to make that correction in case I misspoke. Moving on to financial and legal services. For the legal fees are paid to outside counsel for the April through December period. There were about 10% paid to WB firms and 2% for MBE firms. That's a total of 12%. 15 new certified firms were added to our pool of outside counsel, and currently there is an RFP in place, and we have received proposals for, and this actually concerns the next section, for our bond counsel and for underwriter counsel, and those proposals are currently under review, and I'm on the selection committee, which will be meeting perhaps, I believe, next week to review those proposals, and we will be making a recommendation.
Please.
This issue is familiar to this committee, the MTA all-agency legal fees. What are we doing about that number?
Well, as I mentioned, we have recently included 15 MWB firms in our pool, so they will be we will be looking to award contracts, or actually cases, to them.
And we will be measuring in the next year total fees paid, so that
Yes.
slices of this pie chart are expected to change?
Yes, absolutely. And in terms of monitoring, we do receive payments on a quarterly basis, and they are monitored by our department, and we will definitely report to you on any progress being made. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For underwriters' fees, which are on page 77, the total of underwriter fees being 9.9 million, and the MBE participation is about 12%, and the WB participation is 3%. As I mentioned a moment ago, there is RFP was issued, so we have received proposals for our bond counsel and for underwriter counsel, and those proposals are being reviewed by the selection committee, of which I'm a member. Yes, so we will be reporting on that as well. And Moving on to asset fund managers, as you can see, starting on page 79, we have done pretty well, very well actually, in traditional assets, but not so well in non-traditional assets. So in terms of total assets for the MAPS to our pension plan, it's the participation is about 15%. And on the next page is the MTA defined benefit pension plan, and again, in terms of traditional assets, done very well. In non-traditional assets, not that well, so it translates into about 8% for total assets. As Mr. Garner has mentioned in the past, there is a New York City, New York State Comptroller's Emerging Managers Program, which we consider that as a growth area, and Mr. Garner is continuing his meetings with the MTA, within MTA, and with financial officer as well as with the Comptroller's Emerging Managers Program, and he will be giving a presentation at the May meeting about his efforts. For capital projects, I would return this back to Gwen.
Sure.
This is on page
This is page 82. On page 82, we have our federal program. We have achieved on capital projects with goals 20%, and that's between January to December of 2014. So we have exceeded our DBE goal of 17%. On page 83, we have the information on New York State MWBEs. We achieve an overall goal of 22%, which exceeds our 20% MWBE goals.
Thank you.
Next, Mr. Chairman, the final item on the agenda are the policy statements, policies that are renewed every year, sort of reaffirming our commitment to the principles of equal employment opportunity. These policies are disseminated throughout the workforce, placed among prominent places within our facilities, and also will be sent to our recruitment sources.
And these are submitted without any changes from the...
There was no change from the previous policy which was presented in 2014.
Any other questions?
No, just in concluding, I would say, if Mr. Garner would say if he were here today, that the same efforts that we are making to improve our MWDB participation, and we have a great story to tell, we made great strides there. The same type of efforts are now being focused on addressing underutilization within our workforce, and so we will be looking forward to presenting to you the progress that we've made.
Thank you very much.
And if I just
Please.
just wanted to thank the staff for being here today and for helping me out with this presentation, and I appreciate their efforts and their presentations here today.
And thank you. You did excellent in
Well,
the spot.
thank you very much.
Motion to adjourn? So moved. Second. Thank you, everyone.